Hi, my name is Sarah. I'm the Midnight Baker. I bake cakes and decorate them into fantastical things for birthdays, baby showers, weddings, and all that. I'm an engineer by profession, hence the Midnight. So today, welcome to my studio, and I'll be taking you through decorating a cake together. So my mom used to bake from when we were really small, and then it became about service. So I could listen to a person and change what I thought I wanted to do to fit the needs of the person I was serving. My earliest memory of baking is making a cake for her. It was her birthday and I wanted to make her chocolate cake, and it turned out horribly. As you can imagine, as a small child watching your mother bake and wanting to do something for her, but she still ate it and enjoyed it. So I think from a young age, I always wanted to be in the kitchen, be with my mom, do whatever she was doing. And so I always had that passion for baking. So years later, I had my son and I wanted to make him a minion cake. So he loved minions, his dad loved minions. It was something that we had together. So I want to make this minion cake, and I called around to see if there was a place I could buy, but the cakes were too expensive. So I started to slave away in the kitchen and try and make a cake that looked like a minion. And finally I did, and took it to school. And there was just that joy of seeing your child celebrate his birthday with this minion cake that you've slaved the whole night trying to bring together. And that joy is actually what propelled me to try and make cakes for my nephews and nieces. And what I loved about it is that I enjoyed it thoroughly. I enjoyed failing and learning and failing and changing. And then it became about service. So I could listen to a person and change what I thought I wanted to do to fit the needs of the person I was serving. So at that point, I started to realize that, oh, this was a form of service for me. This is a way that I could go into the world and just give a little bit. And so at that point, when I realized, oh, I can actually do cakes without it being so personal, where I can take feedback and listen to clients and be able to meet their needs, and that brings me joy, I decided to do it a little bit more. Yeah. As I said, I used to bake for my son and for his cousins. So that's where it started, just baking for family. And you can imagine their birthdays don't come around every month. So it was just one or two orders here and there. And then COVID happened and we were stuck in the house. We didn't have anything to do for like a long period of time. So that's when it picked up. That's when I started baking more. That's when I started doing more difficult designs. That's when I started to factor in the business element of it. Before, it was just send me money here, I'll make your cake. But then I started to think about how can this be profitable, and did the numbers, tried to make sure that my work was orderly, that my recipes made sense, that my cakes were consistent, because you don't want to give a person a cake and then they taste it there, they like it, and then the next time you make it doesn't taste the same. And that's why for me, baking is a science. It's fun to decorate and be able to figure out how to make the cake beautiful. But I think about the science, the chemistry, the structure, how far can I push it? How can it look even better? Can it move? Can it rotate? So for me, those aspects are just creativity and my science, the way I am. So science and engineering is a big part of who I am as a person. And I don't think that any of the two can ever be divorced. If I stopped becoming a scientist, even if I stopped working as a scientist, I will still be a scientist. I will still try and take things apart. Even my baking machine, I've taken it apart and tried to see what inside. So that's why it's the Midnight Baker. And for me, I try and arrange my orders. So the way I take my orders, when I bake, when I decorate, when I fulfill my orders, is always according to my schedule. Yeah. So to bake a cake and have it all come together, you have each cake is different. That's what I want to first say. Each cake is individual. And if, believe it or not, cakes are just bread, but in a different form. So each of them is different. If I tell you how to make a fruit cake, and then I tell you how to make a chocolate cake, and I tell you how to make a vanilla cake, those recipes are different and they react differently. But to simplify, we can say that the flour is the structure, it's the building block, right? Sugar is for flavor and moisture. Any cake that has a little bit of sugar will be dry. Eggs are for bonding and also for protein. There's something called the Maillard reaction that happens with sugar when they mix with proteins, and you want that flavor to come out in your cake, that browning. That is only possible when you have eggs inside the mixture. You have things for flavor like vanilla. Those ones are for flavorants, right? And then you have liquids. So liquids, you can have your milk, you can have water, believe it or not, is still a liquid. Milk is for flavor, but milk also adds fats. So you have your fats. Fats are for moisture, fats are for texture also. Even depending on when and how you add your fats and what kind of fats you add, the texture, the way it feels in your mouth changes. So cakes are so complicated and wonderful. And then you have your leavening agents, yeah? So I told you it's a bread, right? So in bread, your leavening agent is yeast. But in cakes, because you want to go faster, you use baking soda and baking powder. So that's when you'll find something called self-raising. Self-raising just means that they put the leavening agent inside the flour for you so that when you bake it, it just raises by itself. So in terms of recipes, remember my mom used to bake. So I inherited a lot of recipes. So actually my trial and error was more about my taste buds as opposed to the client's taste buds. Could I make a good cake? Maybe by the age of maybe 12, I could make a cake. I could make a decent cake because I've been watching my mom doing it every single day. So mimi sikuanza zero, and I cannot lie that I started from zero. However, for me, it was about exploration. So what you're saying, trial and error. For me, I went to books. So I have a lot of recipe books. I buy, if I see a cookbook, I'm the kind of person who will go and buy and look at how different people think about cake. I also watch a lot of YouTube videos, and I'll actually subscribe and pay for memberships and pay for tutorials online, and I'll go and I'll learn. So I learn a lot. So it can be that you're untrained in that you haven't gone to college for it, but I've done so many courses, yeah, just going and learning. If I see something and I try and do it myself, but it's not perfect, I'll reach out to the person. There are classes I've done which are maybe in the UK. I'll reach out to that person on Instagram or on social media and ask them, do you do classes? How much are they? Are they in English? You know, I never used to think that classes could not be in English. So sometimes there are some classes I've been told, I'm sorry, you can't attend because it's a Spanish. If I see something being made and it's weird or something, if I taste something even at a shop and the chef is available, I'll ask questions. That's how I am. If I go even to a party and some lady has made a really good cake, I'll ask her questions. It's part of who I am. So for the pricing thing and the tasting, so first we'll talk about the learning. So the learning from my parent, and then going into courses, asking questions, and trial and error, of course. And then, as I said, for me, I knew what I liked. I knew what was tasty to me. But I tend to have a sweet tooth, so I had to change the idea of why I'm baking. Am I baking for myself or am I baking for other people? So when that transition happened where I could say I'm baking for the joy of others, I listened to feedback. So someone will come and tell me, we liked the cake, but it was a bit too sweet. Or do you do something without milk, eggs? And that means I'm going to go pour through books and find out, because I know what my standard is. So how can I make an eggless cake, but it has the same standard as a cake that has eggs? You know, how do I bring that back in? So that was a very big part of even knowing that I wanted to do this for a long time. Then pricing was a problem, by the way, because initially I didn't think about electricity. I didn't think about how much should I get paid. I didn't think about the labor. Sometimes I used to forget about the boxes. So I will charge you just for the ingredients. I didn't think about the machinery I had to buy. I didn't think about maintaining the machinery I had. So for the first maybe few months of baking, my prices were very low because I didn't think about all these things. And I didn't even think about marketing. It used to be such a stress if I want to market a cake because I don't have a budget for it. Even if I want to get stickers for my boxes or I want to get a new box, I don't have wiggle room. I have to, it's like I'm running a business with the client because I have to go back to them and say, I want to get this box, I want to get this. But at some point I had to now, when I decided, okay, I really want to do this and I want to do it for a long time. Because for me, I feel like my engineering side, there's a time it's going to get to a point where I'm too old to do that on a daily basis. My body will get old, but I feel like baking will be with me until I'm a shosho, you know. In Nairobi, when I wasn't baking, I experienced something. Either you get people who are very good at baking, but they don't decorate, right? So the cake tastes fantastic, but they don't decorate. So and it still happens if you go to a coffee shop, you'll get a very nice tasting cake, but you can't have it looking like maybe your favorite cartoon character. But children love the cartoon characters, and that's how you decorate the parties and all that. So there's a need. And then there's the people who do very good decorations, but their cakes don't taste very good. They're very neutral. And I found out that was sometimes because of the price point. You're trying to balance how much you can charge someone for a cake with the amount of hours it will take you to decorate and what the market is selling a cake for. If you come to the market and you say, I'm going to stand here for 5 hours to decorate your cake, and I'll use just basic ingredients, or I'll use the best ingredients, you might come to charge a person a lot of money compared to what other people are charging. So what I think they did was they did a trade-off. They did a basic cake with really good decoration so they can justify the amount of hours that they spend decorating it. Also learning how to decorate a cake to that standard of like it looks like a cartoon or something. It's an art that you have to really spend a lot of time. So you might find someone might say, okay, let me go into learning how to decorate, and then might not spend a lot of time looking at the different flavors. So that's what I experienced as a client, not as a baker. So I wanted to get a cake, a minion cake, and then the person who I knew who could do both very good flavor and make it look like a minion, the price point was a bit too high for me at that time. So it made me want to come and do the cake myself. Now I understand why her price point was like that, how much time and work it takes to do that. Yeah, but that need is still there in the market. You'll find a lot of people who know they can make a very good cake, but when it comes to decorating them, it takes a lot of time. And also it takes you practicing. So you have to be baking when there's no order. Because if you keep waiting for orders, you won't be able to practice a particular animal. Let's say if I want to make a rabbit, do I have to wait for a rabbit order? That will take time. So sometimes I just have to go and buy and bake and create and even give out for free so that I can be able to practice the craft. Yeah. So one of the challenges is that many people can bake cakes. So a lot of people think they know, they understand the requirements. So you'll find people will not want to pay the cost of your cake, especially when the market changes. You'll find that butter, all those things will become more expensive, but clients don't want to for your prices to go up. They want your prices to remain the same. And you understand why they want that, but now you have to increase the cost. Sometimes some ingredients zinaweza kosa kwa market. Sometimes you can have a flavor that you want and is in your menu, but people don't like it. So it depends on what people want to order. Sometimes there's also the challenge of saturation. There are so many bakers now. So remember, buying in bulk is where you get good margins. So if you're buying in bulk but you don't have clientele every other day, you'll find that utakana stock yako for some time. Also, just advertising sometimes can be a challenge. You can find that people don't know about your products. Or they don't know what is unique about what you're doing. So they'll wonder, why is her cake that price, or things like that. And then also people copying. You can have someone who you've hired, they come, they take your recipes and they go and start their own thing. So ikona challenges zake. Then remember also, ingredients za cake are expensive. So that's another thing that it affects the market. So yeah, things like that really affect. Also, people don't like ordering cakes and foodstuffs in advance. People like ordering cakes 2 days to the day you want the cake to be delivered. So that's another challenge that I have faced in the business. Trying to educate clients that if you call me the day before, I might not be able to make for you a good cake. Earlier on in my business, I really wanted to be cost effective. That was my biggest thing, because remember, I wanted to make a cake for my son and couldn't afford it. So the cost of my cakes has always been something that I want to keep down. But I was sacrificing the whole cake for the sake of trying to be cost efficient. So I used to want to use riders and get discounts especially for transportation. And it really suffered. There was a time you're being called and the cake doesn't look anything like what you sent out. Then also there's a time now I didn't want to be anywhere near the transportation. So I used to tell people, come and pick up your own cake. But the convenience, you have to also think about the client. They have a lot of things that they're doing that day. So it just adds to your service delivery for you to help them out by taking care of transport. So I had to come to a middle ground where we say, let's just use a car hire service where I show you what the cost is going to be, and then you decide, do you want to come and pick up the cake yourself, or is it better for us to send it to you? But cake delivery has been one of the things that is a pain point for a lot of bakers. If you decide to have a complicated cake and send it by a rider, you will mess up the whole cake trying to save a few shillings for delivery. So it's better not to do that. So even now, there's a friend of mine who's also a baker, and I made a cake and gave it to her, and we were doing this thing where we want to pass it forward. So I gave her a cake for free. She sent me a video where she was just giving it to people who might not be able to afford luxury cakes, and I really enjoyed that. We also, this year is a year of giving back for us. So we want to go to children's homes and just cut cake and share sweet memories. There was a time I actually asked this lady why do people cut cakes during events? Like, what's the importance of cakes? Because I was thinking, biashara yangu itaendelea ama itaisha. So I think I was just asking her, why do people cut cakes during events? And she said it's to share sweet memories. So I want to go and share sweet memories with as many people as possible, because the creative aspect of the cake is a very big part of what I enjoy about doing it. My highlights are the cakes. There are some cakes I've made that till today, I still think of them and smile. I'm like, oh my God, how did I do that? And then also I think connecting with other bakers, internationally and locally, just having those conversations where you're talking like friends, that community is so beautiful. Bakers are such warm and loving people. Okay, the ones I've met. And it's so easy for you to gain a rapport. Kwa hii kazi, you can find that you can't find something. Like, I'm looking for a flower, or I'm looking for a decorating element and I can't find it anywhere. I've looked everywhere. And during those times, you actually have to go to people who have done it for longer than you so that they can advise you. There are also bakers who have helped me in my journey, even advice. So for me, the highlights have been the people. The people in terms of clients who have made for cakes that I still remember and smile, and also the people who I share this craft with, the other bakers who have also shared the journey with me and helped me along the way with advice and mawaidha, all these other things. People can find me online. I'm mostly on Instagram, but I'm also on Facebook at Sarah the Midnight Baker. So Sarah_midnight_baker_. And for me, I will tell anybody who has a passion or something they just like to do, even if it's simple, just start and have that heart of service. That passion for creativity. Yes, you want to learn and do the best that you can, but also service. Look outward to the people who you are doing that service for and really engage with them. That is one of the biggest parts of making a cake. Chakula unaweza tengeneza tamu for yourself, but it's always better. It's always better when someone else tastes it and enjoys it. That's when it really makes your day.